If you would identify yourself and keep your questions brief, start here. I have the same problem Volker had. I can't really see anything other than shapes.
Thanks very much. Michael Ancram from the United Kingdom. Two questions, or the first, I suppose, is a comment. Every time I hear the question of nuclear safety talked about, there's a great tendency to try and reassure people that it's not as bad as people think it is. I come from Scotland, where 26 years after the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, which happened over 1,000 miles away, there are still parts of agricultural land there where livestock can still not be sold off that land because it's still contaminated by cesium that came not directly from the plant but came in rain clouds over a period of time. How do we actually make sure that if we have another accident like that, we can do something about controlling the amount of radiation that is carried meteorologically over a very, very large area? Secondly, a slightly technical question. The attack on Iran, we may not know who did it, was carried out by a worm called Stuxnet. And a worm is not a virus. I'm told it's a much easier thing to make. It can be inserted into one machine over a period of time. It can find its way to the target machine that it's been programmed to find. Once it gets there, it can lie dormant for a certain number of years, if necessary, certainly months, until the moment for it to be triggered comes. You don't know it's there. It's almost undetectable. How many worms of that sort, do you think, over the last 2 years have actually been created and inserted?
Regarding the first question, we cannot say that nuclear power plants are 100% safe. There is a possibility of accidents. But in order to prevent it, we have to develop multiple defenses. And this time it was caused by tsunami, which was beyond the estimates. And there are various ways to protect the reactors from such huge natural hazards. Now, after Fukushima Daiichi, we are taking measures, and we are trying to enhance the safety of nuclear power plants. The nuclear power plants of the current generation is much safer than the previous nuclear generations, nuclear power plants. And the future reactors, which are called Generation 4, are the ones of which safety features is the most important element. So, by developing the safety culture, strengthen the regulatory bodies, training people for better operation, using the better design and better construction, I think we can minimize the risk of accident. And in case of Fukushima Daiichi, the lessons learned from Chernobyl was very useful. That is why the Japanese government could evacuate people so that they would not be exposed to the radiation. And the IAEA sent a mission for the decontamination of the land, and there are over 60 technologies to decontaminate the land and facilities. So again, we cannot guarantee 100%, but there are ways to reduce the risk minimum. And if unfortunately it happens, there are ways to again reduce the risks. Next question is about Stuxnet. We have visited the enrichment facilities in Natanz in Iran, but our objective is to ensure that nuclear material and facilities are not diverted to military purpose, are staying in peaceful purposes. Our objective is not to study how effective or how little effective the Stuxnet are. So our knowledge of the effect of Stuxnet is very limited.
Scott, why don't you chip in on that? Because give us the professional view of Stuxnet.
So I'd say two things. One is, in terms of how much software is lying dormant in the world, if I came up with a number, it would be sheer speculation. Having said that, I would point out two things that people need to remember. One is, for all its stealthiness, Stuxnet got revealed, as much malware often does. Because remember that when malware traverses a network, people are running intrusion detection systems, egress monitoring, other things, and it's often detected. And second, there are practical challenges with deploying sleeper code. Nothing's impossible, of course, but here's the problem. Machines get updated with some regularity. Machines get replaced, hardware fails, operating systems get upgraded, applications get patched. As a result of that, if you were thinking about planting some code that you might be able to trigger 3 to 5 years from now, the odds that that code would be there unimpaired in 3 to 5 years depends on the system. There are systems, you look at regular bank ATM machines, when they install them, they expect them to run 20 to 25 years. But other things, personal computers, for example, PCs, servers that are running, systems, their lifespan is a lot shorter. Usually they're depreciated and replaced within 3 to 5. So, it's a challenging environment both for the offense and the defense.
From what you've read about Stuxnet, are there any characteristics of this virus that would tell us where it probably came from?
There's been public analysis, but to be frank, I think more of the analysis regarding origin related to what was the target and what could the motives have been, as opposed to the authoring of the code. There have been, over the years, some researchers have tried to fingerprint malware. Just like a certain author writes a certain way and a certain painter paints a certain way, code writers have a style. And people have at times tried to fingerprint style. The problem is that unlike language where you're writing a novel and you can choose to write in a flowery way or in a very, factual way, code has syntax. You have to write it a certain way or it just won't compile and execute. But still, as I said, some researchers have over the years looked for uniqueness in code writing as part of their effort to identify source.
So there's an Ernest Hemingway among code programmers out there somewhere. We have a question back here.